This is what's really interesting for me, John, is just listening to the growth one song at a time, but then just being completely blown away by the jump on this album. Because when you do it one single at a time, and I feel like you've always got... Hi, by the way.
Hello.
I was thinking on my way in to talk to you today, every song is kind of an exercise in reaching more people.
Exactly.
But on this album, you get to provide people with a different depth. It's not just about how many people, it's who the person is. Like, this may not be the biggest song on your record, but people are it's gonna be their favorite song.
Exactly. And then, I mean, when I think of all my favorite albums in the past, it's never the one, like the song that's like on the top 5 on their, it's always, the track that kind of resonated with me most as a listener. And it was cool to actually be able to do a full, body of work where it's not just the big festival hits.
You get to do that.
Yeah, it's taken like 8 years of releasing singles, and
has it been 8 years, man?
Yeah, so it's been a grind.
I'm so glad you pointed that out, because I think that it's really easy for people to see the kind of success someone like you is having, in particular in dance music, where it moves fast, and assume that you moved fast.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of set the roadmap for that in the last conversation, that you went through a lot of challenges to get to this place, but what an amazing place to arrive. Congratulations on this album, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's definitely the most amount of work I put in something. And yeah, it's taken this long to actually get confident enough to put out music that might not reach the masses and might not be a huge hit. But I don't know, this felt really like the right time. And it took a while to really learn how to make more than just underground, house music.
Yeah.
And
you're right up to bring up the idea of confidence too. Because I don't think the success and confidence are mutually relatable to each other. In fact, if anything, that having quick success to some people or reaching people and playing lots of shows to lots of people, it sets an unrealistic metric, like a bar that you're trying to reach every time. Yep. You almost have to detach yourself from that and commit to the art in order to go past that. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to surpass it, right?
Exactly. I mean, to write this album, I had to take my first month off since touring since 2020.
Scary.
It was scary. And then, I took it all. I spent all of November in London to write this album. And I know you might be a little biased with that, but I think it really is the best, and it's where all my influences come from too.
Yeah, you already know how I feel. I mean, spending nearly 18 years out there, and I can hear it too, because you're moving in such a genre fluid way here. You're not just sticking to this thing that you do very well, which is this very, very well produced 4 on the floor big room smashes.
Exactly.
There are real nuances here. The song with Sub Focus is out of control.
It's so cool. That's one of my favorite ones I've ever done, because we wanted to truly, show our own styles on one record. And write the original song idea together, but we're like, how can we actually produce this too? Be able to combine the two.
It's a pure collaboration. Did you go up to a spot in Talyard? Is he still up in Talyard to do that?
Exactly.
My studio was next door to his for about 2 years.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to record vocals, because all you would hear next door was just as soundproof as those studios are, they are no match for Sub Focus's sub bass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's funny, because his music's like that, and then he's the most quiet, reserved dude himself.
He's an English gentleman.
Exactly.
He's an English gentleman that makes disgusting records.
I love that.
It's a wicked contrast. So listen, when did you actually complete this body of work? When did you call time on it, close the loop on it, and know it was finished?
So did most of the songwriting and stuff in November, and when I finished it was 2 days in Coachella, before Coachella, that is. Basically,
you're crazy. What are you doing? You're about to play 2 of your biggest shows of your career, 2 at Coachella, a back-to-back and a solo, and you're finishing your album?
Oh, yeah, because I couldn't even work on the sets until once the album was done. And it pretty much was done when, managers telling me, you got to turn this in, because it's never actually done.
Yeah, you can't finish it.
And the thing, I'm just changing the mix. I'm on version 30 of one track, and I keep sending it to people can you tell the difference? Can you tell the difference? And they're all kind of being nice.
John, you're getting lulls behind you because there's a room of incredibly creative people in the room behind us right now. They are creative is their life. And they first of all, they're laughing at the the execution, because that's the hardest thing in the entire world is to execute. Someone's got to tell you to do it, right? They've got to tell you to finish. But it's also the iterations are just...
No, they matter.
Never ending,
because there's always going to be one kid somewhere that'll notice that little sub mix difference, and then I notice every little detail. But at the end of the day, I knew, it was time, and now listening back on it, I'm so proud of it.
You're listening to it, you can enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I listen to it all the time.
I listen to my music all the time too. You know, we're a minority, right? Most artists can't do it. They finish their music and they're just like, oh yeah. A lot of artists are just like, oh, it's too much, it's too close. I'll leave it for everybody else. I always felt bad for people. I think, why would you not love your own stuff?
No, it's amazing to look. Like I can't watch my own performances because I might like cringe at myself or something, jumping around or something. I don't know. But my own music though, yeah, is that a bad thing?
Not at all. But one of the things I love is the contrast between who you are as a performer and your natural personality, which is this desire to entertain people, to make people have something they'll remember, an event, an experience they'll remember forever. And you're completely dedicated to that, ashamedly committed to that prospect. But this album is deep. Yeah. And so was it important to you that it showed a side to you that perhaps people that gets lost in the headiness of a John Summit live show?
I mean, big time, because like the whole theme of this is duality, and with the album called Comfort and Chaos, you know, I kind of have lived two lifestyles where it's being at home in the studio by myself, as comfortable as possible, just me, my laptop, my headphones, and then being on stage is the chaos. It's the, you know, the John Summit entertainer that everyone sees. Because John Schuster is my real name. That is the side I kind of wanted to show.
I feel like this is John Schuster on this record.
Yeah, big time, big time.
Yeah, to come to that conclusion at this early stage in your life and in your journey, to know that you can split your identity up into two things and they can be mutually inclusive of one another.
Because I always thought I was all one or nothing, and then especially like in 2022, I was like the third highest like touring act in the world. It was nuts. I did like 220 shows. That was like just John Summit all day, every day. And I kind of got swept up in that madness, swept in the party. You know what the parties are like. They're nuts.
I do.
Because then I played the show, and it was more than 220 shows, because then I did the after party afterwards, and it was this whole thing. And the only way I could produce music was just on the road, on planes, trains, like every single day. And I was just making music for the dance floors. So then, yeah, to actually take time off and kind of tap into my personal self, this is, I mean, it's far more rewarding too.
I'm so glad you did on a personal level as someone who likes you and is a fan of your music, but also having seen so many of your contemporaries, past and present, not do that, not switch off at that really important time.
It's tough. I mean, you have to make some sacrifices to make it happen.
Well, let me tell you something that I learned from my experience of watching DJs find an audience, find a tailwind, is that the tailwind can be very strong for all the arts, but I'm not sure I've seen a tailwind as strong and as fast as the one that hits you when you're in the clubs and it's happening, when you're headlining the festivals, when a song is hitting, when the opportunity for you to play 6 shows a week, 7 shows a week, and after parties. It's a strong wind, man, and it's
nuts.
It can really blow you off course. Big
time. And I'm lucky that I have a team around me that I can tell them I want to take time off, and they're super supportive, because, you know, it is leaving money on the table, and it is, you know, like, it kind of seems stupid to take time off to do this, but I mean, I feel like it's paid off.
Let's talk about the money side of it, though, because I do think that's clearly one of the most attractive reasons to keep the wheels turning at the speed they are. Your fees go up, the offers go up. That's the math everybody wants, right?
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, like, you don't strike me as somebody who's that actually motivated by financial gain.
No, so the only thing I ever want in life is like financial independence, because I mean, I come from, you know, just normal middle class background, and I, you know, worked the accounting job, and you know, the reason why I took that job is just for financial security. Yeah. So that's everyone, you know, like, because then when I went and did this full time, I was very broke, living in my parents' basement. That's how I produced like literally 300 records during 2020. So then, you know, I just wanted, you know, enough to live comfortable enough. And then once I got that, I mean, I still don't own a car. You know, I live in my condo right now, and I kind of have everything I want in that aspect. So now I just kind of fulfilling my art dreams right now.
Yeah, because when is enough? Like, that's the thing about financial security, right? Like, okay, so let's just do the quick math without getting into specifics, right? You're living in your condo and you haven't got a car because life is just flying by. So
exactly.
you ain't got time to settle down, right? It's like, let's just keep going.
Yeah, I got like a few plants, and that's about it.
That's about it, right? So, but at some point, you're going to have the opportunity to do that. You're going to be able to stop, slow down, and do that. And you're going to take a step back and go, okay, this is how successful I've become in the last sort of 5 years. and it's very successful. And so at that point, do you think you're going to have a better understanding, probably impossible to know, but just projection wise, a better understanding of how you manage your own ambitions in that moment? Because I've seen people like triple down on that.
Yeah.
They go way past that goal ages ago.
Yeah.
And then they can't slow down. I guess
Well,
I'm trying to get to
you can get addicted to success. And I know like a lot of people, and I don't want to name names, but they just keep adding business after business or new venture, and they just keep expanding and kind of losing a vision.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to artists, my favorite artists that have a clear vision of what they're trying to do and clear growth. Because I could just do everything, and I have offers to do everything, but I did have to like sit back and figure out where I actually want to go in life, what I want to be able to look back on. Because I do want to slow down one day. I do want to have like family and stuff. I want to be a normal person.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of DJs that, haven't, not just DJs, just rock stars in general, just had a hard time doing that.
Yeah, sacrifice that. Well,
Totally.
and one of the ventures that you have committed to, which I think is really great, is Experts Only. And I think what's rad about that is whilst it affords you an opportunity to create memorable experiences for yourself and others, it's also, there is an element of investing in the future through that model too, which I really admire. So it's not just a smash and grab. You're like, no, let's build something with this.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, I haven't even made $1 on it yet. But we've done these like huge events, and it's all about kind of signing, working with new artists and putting them on, because I had zero music industry connections when I started. And so what I did was just make music in my room all day, every day, and just send out on SoundCloud labels, DM them, send out emails, and then, took me 1,000 no's before I got my first yes.
What was the break? What was the moment?
The moment was Defected in 2020 when I signed Deep End.
Yeah.
Because I sent them probably 60 demos, like 60 days in a row, getting said no every time. And then I sent Deep End at like 11 o'clock at night after I finished it in Chicago. And then they responded like an hour later saying like, let's get on a Zoom call now, because of course they're UK time, so that was mooring them, which is very intense. And they're like, we want to sign this, we want to put this out next week, it's huge. And so my life just like changed overnight like
and
that.
Isn't that amazingly encouraging to think that through 59 or 60 no's, where you probably feel like you're just going through some kind of default automated response process, that someone was listening to those songs and the right one was all it was going to take?
It's nuts. And I gotta give them so much credit though, because their A&R was giving me feedback and saying why they were saying no.
Great.
So it wasn't just a blind no.
Great. So you're building a relationship.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly. And then that's what inspired, they're a huge inspiration for Experts Only, because then I did their party in Croatia where it was fans of all ages, all backgrounds, but then everyone was there just together for the music, and then everyone loved the artist but weren't there for one specific artist.
Yeah. It was culture, it was a community, it was Defected.
Exactly. And I am aware, a lot of people do come to see me, and I'm like a big name now, but I do want Experts Only one day to be able to have events without even me playing it.
That's a beautiful goal, man, because that's probably the closest thing you'll get to being a fan of something you're invested in.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, when you're doing it, when you're helming it, and you can be a fan of your own music, but there's a certain responsibility that comes with all of that. It's just, you can't be free in that experience. For you to go to an Experts Only show, that's why if you've seen the Lollapalooza documentary, Perry Farrell, man, when he launches Lolla and he's like, oh my God, I just get to be a fan of something I'm invested in.
Yes, exactly. It's the coolest thing ever, because you got to see like the plant you've grown. It's fucking awesome. That's why,
awesome.
I mean, it's kind of like listening back to your own music, that same concept, right?
Yeah, it very much is. I want to talk about some of the harder stuff on this album, because I love when you go dark. And I think that it's one of the most, I want to say underappreciated, because a lot of people love your heavy sets and love what you do when you go heavy. But I think most people are responsive to the bigger songs. And then I hear a song like Eat the Bass and I'm like, shit, you really know what you're doing.
Yes.
Can you tell us the story about making that and just why that ended up making the cut? Because there's so many big songs on this, but I love that you save space on song number 5 to just go dark and heavy and low.
Exactly. So that one is just a true callback to my underground self, where that's where I got my start, was playing Spy Bar in Chicago, doing all the like warehouse raves in Chicago. And it wouldn't be a John Summit album if I didn't have like a true tech house track. That's after doing these big records, kind of going back to the club. And then then I do Resonate after that too, which is like a big like techno record with Cascade that actually starts off quite emotional. Yeah, it just didn't feel me without having a record like that. And that's where, John Summit started from.
Yeah,
so
that's where it came
fun.
from.
Yeah.
It came from that underground space.
I mean, I just did Toronto last weekend. I did this like Budweiser stage there, if you know that at all. This big, outdoor shed. But then I added a last minute after party play at this club called Coda. That's 400 people. Don't make any money on it. It's just
fun
for the love of it.
Yeah, just for fun, and you went hard.
Oh yeah, and I played Eat the Bass, of course, there.
And it went off.
Always.
You go back to back, man. After not long after that with Cascade and Elderbrook, right? You've gone big top line writers who really deal primarily in the emotional side of the big room. They're looking for people to go internally, not just externally, when they make their music. What did you learn from working with, say, Cascade, who to me, have some real miles on the road and one of the greatest at doing that?
So he's been a huge inspiration of mine. He's a Chicago guy himself, so connected to that. He's actually the reason I got connected with Halo as well, who has a huge presence on the album too. But one of my favorite dance record of all time is I Remember him and Deadmau5. And I got the honor of remixing it last year, which is so sweet. And then after that, me and Ryan Cascade are like, we have to write a record together, but how do we combine our styles? He's very emotional, like big top lines. I am too, but then, we were talking about what we like production-wise lately. He's like, I've been on a big techno kick lately. I'm like, say less. I am so in. So I think that song is the perfect balance of, comfort in the beginning and then just absolute chaos on the drop. So
what do you see in the crowd when you play a song like that, or something that I think is more immersive than, say, something that's heavier and darker? And I know you're monitoring and focusing on how the room is moving. All DJs have to, right? Yeah. It's a nuanced experience from a DJ point of view, a macro experience from a crowd point of view in a lot of ways. And I think that, when you play a song like that, like, what is the emotion that you recognize? How does it shift the room when it goes big like that?
It's cool because it starts off, emotional. There's no, like, the hats kind of dip out. There's no kick. There's no bass. And then you kind of see people really taking the moment, have their eyes closed. People online might be like, why aren't people dancing? It's because they're actually taking in the emotions. You have to see it live. And then it kind of gets as hectic as possible after there's a big snare build up, and then you kind of don't know where it's going to go. There's the silence, and then the techno kicks in, and that's when you can see, like, all the people are a little confused what was going on. Get right back into it. So
and in a way, you can kind of design the architecture in the studio emotionally for that, but you're never going to know, right? You never know until you see how it reacts with an audience.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important for me to always be touring, because, I mean, traditionally artists will write an album, then tour it, where I had to kind of do both at once, at least. I did take a lot of time off to do a lot of the songwriting, but it took me 6 months to actually finish it because I road tested that track for so long.
The iterations. I want to spend some time right now talking about songwriting. I know it's very, very important to you that this is considered an album, a collection of songs. The tempo and the genre, the vibe, the production, the dance floor nature of it, that's just who you are. But the songwriting is where a lot of the growth has come from, right, for you. What have you learned over the course of the making of this record, working with songwriters and just trying to dial into the best possible representation of that song?
I learned that there's no rules, and I learned that you kind of just write what you're feeling at the time, and it usually always translates, because we all go through the same, like, emotions and experience. Like Tears, for example, the second track on the album, that's with Paige Cavell, who absolutely outstanding singer. I think you can hear the raw emotion in her voice. And the reason why you can is because she's going through so much heartbreak at the time.
Yeah.
And you can feel that too. And then I was talking with her, then, because I experienced crazy, crazy highs and lows being on the road. And that's kind of the whole theme of the album too, songwriting wise. Yeah. So kind of channeling that, because it starts very melodramatic and introspective, and then it ends up very confident, full. So, which is really kind of my life in a nutshell right now. Yeah. And then writing with Venvi, for example, who's absolutely incredible. She's out of the UK. Yeah. That's the end of the album, Palm My Hands. And it ends with so much self-confidence, because, that's being a touring act herself. Like, that's kind of figuring that all out. Yeah. Being solo, she's single on a mission. It's just, it's cool to be out. It's cool to express myself outside of just production.
Oh yeah, I can hear that. That's very clear to anyone who'll press play on this album, is that it's not a collection of tracks with some top lines or demos And it's like, oh, cool, that works. And there's nothing wrong with that. Great art can come from that. I know some great producers who do that. But I can tell your words are in here. I can tell you were in the room. You were writing. You were really carving it up. There's a continuity throughout.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, because I was a sample-based producer all the way up until 2021, where my first dive into songwriting really was with What a Life with Stevie Appleton.
Yeah.
I'm going to have him perform live with me at Madison Square Garden. He's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then once I started doing that, and it was just so nerve-wracking because a lot of artists in my lane don't do that. And then I'm like, oh, are people going to think this is cheesy? Or they think it's lame?
Right.
Because you're just full of self-doubt. But then once you realize, like, it doesn't matter if you know, I don't know, put yourself out there, see what happens.
Has that been one of the best things about this whole experience, is kind of better understanding the lack of power self-doubt has over your life and replacing it with confidence?
It's insane. And it's something I battle every single day in every aspect of my life. Where it's funny, I'm most confident when I'm on stage, which is like the opposite, I think, of a normal person. And then like a normal like day-to-day interaction is where I at least am. But the confidence I've been getting on stage and through writing music and releasing music has given me more confidence in the rest of my life too, which is cool.
Man, I'm really enjoying our conversations and getting to know you over time. I really am. And it's rare to get someone who's as open about life coming from within inside the club as you.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times it's like I'm moving too fast to reflect.
Yeah.
And I feel like reflection is quite a big part of your process of growth. Like these are reflective songs.
I think it's also because of the background I am from. Like Chicago is like, none of my friends are in the music industry. None of them, like, they all work, normal jobs, and they're the most incredibly grounded people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Just spending time with them has made me like reflect.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you can get swept up in the madness big
What's
time.
it like when they come to the shows?
Oh, they think it's the coolest fucking thing in the world.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
So
can we open this? It's like you can open all of it.
Yeah, literally. It's like even the smallest things, like just having like a free tequila on a rider. They're like, is like, you don't have to pay for this? I'm like, no, it's like just...
Yeah, more often than not, it just sits here at the end of the night. Please finish it.
Right?
All right, man. With that being said, and the reason why I wanted to give you that observation is because, you said something before that really stuck with me, which was you go through crazy highs and crazy lows on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to sort of give you an opportunity at this point, given that you've gifted us with this very vulnerable album, to sort of give people some insight, as far as you're willing to, into what the reality is for you doing that many shows, trying to find a way to stay connected to family. I'm just making a laundry list of what I've experienced and seen other people go through.
Yeah.
The balance is hard.
It's very hard because then, just the adrenaline rush, like the natural endorphins you get on stage, being in front of thousands people, I love you.
I love you. But what does that actually mean?
Exactly.
Right?
Because then I just get off stage, I get in my transpo, I get home in my hotel room by myself, and I'm like, like I do read like comments and stuff after a show, and some comments are so incredibly genuine, and it does really hit home for me. And doing things for the fans is truly what makes me happy. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's fucking tough.
Yeah. Well, by the way, you get back in that transport, you're dripping in sweat, you're exhausted, your ears are still ringing no matter how much you protect them, because the frequencies will find a way in temporarily.
Oh yeah. And I'm really bad at protecting my ears. I gotta get better at it.
Yeah, well, this is where, your older friend's going to get in your ear now.
Yep.
Someone who has some, permanent hearing damage from some pretty serious kind of volume issues and lifestyle issues in the beginning of my DJ career, not taking care of myself, too many late nights, drinking on the job, all that kind of shit. It's just really bad for your neurology. Yeah. And, and for your senses. And so, I got away, I got out of it, and I can function. But yeah, man, that's your life, dude. Your ears are your life.
When did you start taking care of yourself? Because I'm 29 now. I'm turning 30 this year. I kind of always thought once I turn 30, I should probably start taking care of myself.
Around that time, around the time when I realized that actually my youth wasn't going to last forever, and that life could actually be a long time.
Yeah.
And what I didn't want is I didn't want to do something so damaging that I was then going to have more than half my life living with that.
So you had a realization around this time that to stop living life day by day, kind of, because that's what actually propelled me to write an album. Is that if you write an amazing album, I've always wanted to do one, but then you can kind of take time and let it breathe. Yeah. Because when you're writing singles every single month, it's like I'm literally just living.
Well, you got
to
to promote it.
Exactly.
You got to feed it.
Literally, and just you're on the hamster wheel.
But this album now will be this will feed people for a long time, for the rest of their lives. And people will discover it because it's just there's infinite discoverability with more music out there attached to one concept. For sure. And I think that, look, everyone's going to do it in their own time frame. And you definitely strike me, despite the fact that you live quite a crazy life in terms of movement and energy and friction and just noise and just excitement, that you obviously have your head screwed on. You're a solid, well-raised human. But yeah, I think when you get to that point when you actually start to prioritize balance because you want this to do this for 50 years, not 15.
Exactly.
That's when the change happens.
And I want to do not just stuff outside of just DJing, like a long-term goals, like scoring a movie and stuff like that. Like
harder
doing
to do when your hearing's gone.
Exactly.
It's like, I like it, but it's a little too toppy. It's like, I lost a lot of my tops about 10 years ago. My high frequencies are burnt, right?
Yeah, you gotta avoid that.
It's beautiful that you've got those ambitions to move further and deeper into music, because for some people, this kind of success is enough. They strive to try to play Madison Square Garden. It's like, where do I go from there? How do you attack and apply yourself to your goals? Because if you're having in the middle of being, I mean, you yourself said it, John. I mean, you were the third highest grossing touring act in the world. That is an enormous achievement for somebody like yourself.
Oh no! So that was the highest amount of of just shows in general.
Oh, it doesn't really matter because, by the way, you're still getting paid a shit ton of money. So I would say I'm probably not far off the fact.
Okay, that's fair.
Right? They just don't want to tell you that.
Exactly.
Right? So facts or otherwise, it's not far off the mark.
Yeah.
You're doing all of these incredible shows, and like I said, for some people that's enough. How do you allow yourself the space to redefine your goals in real time?
Because I have a lot of goals, ambitious goals from just growing up as a kid of what all my favorite artists growing up have done. So
like who?
Growing up, Kanye was huge inspiration of mine.
Course.
Him, Virgil, Pharrell, they've shown that, and I mean, Tyler, the creator, is doing a great job at it right now, that creativity can be outside of just releasing music and touring. Yeah. But that will always be my basis of it all. But, I want to go into fashion. I want to go into movies and all of that. But I'm not going to do anything too quick because I'm only going to do it if I'm good at it. But just exploring different things.
What's interesting to me is in talking about additional loves and passions that you have, I noticed that your voice got a little quiet and you got a little more internal with that projection. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I normally don't talk about these things out loud and stuff because it's all in my head. So
yeah. Well, I only want you to be comfortable, but at the same time, I got to call you out on that because man, it's pretty clear from what you've achieved already that you have the ability to manifest shit pretty powerfully when you put your mind to it.
Oh, I'm a huge believer in manifestation. I mean, the artist I work with for the album art, Marcus Alvarado, is a Puerto Rican-based artist, is that he really, the way I connected with him was on Twitter, and he always tweets about mindfulness and manifestation and all that, but along with his art.
It's a striking piece of art on the cover of the album. He's obviously super gifted, and I'm familiar with his work. And it also reminds me a little bit like Tool and things that go deeper than just what we see. That there's an interconnectivity between all things. What did it feel like when you took a look at the artwork for the first time you sent it back?
It was so cool because I just sent him the whole album and I let him kind of take what he takes from the album and kind of translate it to his own art. Yeah. And then he sends me the initial sketch. And normally, always working with other artists, stuff I give so much feedback, but I was just color this. This is incredible.
And the color scheme's amazing.
It's so cool. It's so fun. And then I'm going to be able to use this art in my show as visuals and make a visualizer out of it. And he was able to really create a whole world from my music, and it's cool that we'll be able to take that on tour and stuff too.
Yeah, the touring, man. I mean, you're at a point now with an album now and artwork like that where it goes from just fitting into someone else's concept of what a room is or what a night is, and it's nah, you get to build it yourself every single time.
It's like creating your own world. It's sweet. And then I also love that it's all hand drawn and stuff too, because a lot of artists are getting replaced nowadays by AI and stuff. I could talk forever about that.
Look, I mean, my feeling on that is pretty straightforward. I mean, look, I know that the tools are going to become far more refined, in a lot of cases very usable, even for someone like yourself. I mean, efficiency.
Oh, I use it all the time. I extract drums, I extract disco loops, I extract vocals.
Yeah. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you want to enjoy the process of creating the art. And I think where it's not going to catch, and maybe I'm being idealistic, is the idea of somebody typing in John Summit type beat, and then it goes and it reaches a couple couple of million people and they're like, I did it. I just don't think we're built like that. I think
No.
achievement cannot be qualified by ease.
No, it's a tool at the end of the day. It's like when you went from vinyls to CDJs, like there were people who were like, no, like that's not traditional DJing. You
Facts.
can't do that.
I was there.
But yeah, it's like, no, this is a useful tool and we gotta use it. And it's like every update of CDJs, even like when sync happens and stuff, it's like you can use it as a tool. Even when people went, from studios to doing everything on a computer, I do everything on a laptop unless I'm recording vocals. I'll go to the studio for that.
Yeah.
But so I'm embracing it and stuff. My thing is just when artists get replaced by tools, it'll happen. But just you can tell when things are genuinely human created, which is cool.
I agree with that, but isn't there also, and again, I'm not objecting to progression. Like I understand.
No,
that,
you have to adapt.
We've got to adapt, and I wouldn't be here at Apple. I would still be somewhere I used to work if I hadn't felt things were changing. Right. So I'm all for change, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm less defensive as I was maybe 6 months ago. I think now I feel like not only can you tell when it's human, but I also think you wanted to work with the artist.
Yeah.
You wanted to have something created that reflected the collaboration between you and Marcos.
Mm-hmm. It's like a genuine human connection.
You got a story. It's the story to tell to yourself, to your friends, to me, to each other. If you just typed in Marcos Alvarado type artwork, you wouldn't have felt the same way.
No, not at all.
So isn't it? I think where it pulls up in the liberal arts is when it starts to actually divorce the artist from the feeling. I don't think it's going to catch. I don't think it's ever going to replace the feeling.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Because you have to have a story to have feeling too.
You've got to know where it came from and what it means to you in order to stand by it and to be proud of it. And I just think if you could have typed in John Summit type bassline, John Summit type beat, and Marcos Alvarado type artwork, we wouldn't even be having a conversation right now.
Exactly. I mean, it's no different than like our eras of the past when paintings got too realistic and the realism era happened and then it went just full abstract afterwards.
Right.
That if everything gets too perfect and too good, then I feel like music is going to go fully abstract.
The flaws are where the fucking magic is, man.
Exactly.
And the tools will get better. They'll get more refined. They will be used, and there will be some tough times where things do feel like there's a replacement going on.
Of course. But for every replacement, there's opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you, but you know what, the funniest thing, I'll leave it with this. The funniest thing was I said to somebody else, like, what's the point in being efficient through AI in all of these areas? And they were like, oh, well, you get more time. I said, oh, okay. So what would you use your time for? And they're like, I don't know, like just do things, just learn something or do something I've always wanted to do. Like, I don't know, make music, make art. I was like, well, you just you just created efficiency to do the thing you got AI to fucking replace. What the fuck are you talking about?
It really is wild, man.
I just have all this time to make art, but I killed art in the process. I'm so excited for you, man. I not just because of the life you've built for yourself and your ability to be able to do what you love 24/7 if you have the energy for it, but that you've made an album now, which, and I know what it means to you to have achieved this.
Mm-hmm. It's really the best feeling in the world. It feels like it's like life's work all put into one thing, and it's not going to be my only album because now
that's what I mean. You started something.
Yeah, I did think when I was finishing up, because the last month was like brutal finishing it, and I was like, I'm never doing an album again. Like texting all my friends, I'm like, I can't do this again. But then once I finished it, and then I'm like so proud of it. Now I have this like huge inspiration, endorphin rush of like, I can't wait to get back and do it again.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait as well, man. Congratulations. I mean, anybody who's a fan is going to, you've more than gone above, our expectations. And I think you're going to turn a lot of new people onto your music as well, just because of the depth of this. And it's been really good to talk to you about it, man. I always enjoy talking with you, bro.
Yeah, likewise. Your words mean a lot. So thank you so much.
Appreciate you, John.